He is 100% worth it.
He takes it to another level. Oh my God, I just fell in love with it.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Blew my mind. And it worked. I wanted to buy my thing.
Jay is, I would say, the Yoda of sales calls, man.
Just talking to Jay, he was so good at just taking what it is, seeing the opportunity and the value and the real reason we are making it.
Talk to Jay because he got it. He can definitely help you out.
Talk to Jay. You're going to get a lot. You're going to gain a lot.
I would absolutely recommend him for any position that you have.
Jay's definitely the guy.
Give him the chance, give him the opportunity. You won't regret it.
He's good at what he does, so I highly recommend him, and I would book him before he is fully booked out.
What is up, Sales Ninjas? Welcome back to the Sales Ninja Show podcast, where we cut through the noise and ditch outdated sales tactics and show you how to close more deals with confidence, strategy, and integrity. Hi, my name is Jay, the founder of Go Sales Ninja. If you're tired of chasing leads, handling endless objections, and feeling like you have to convince people to buy, you're definitely in the right place. Here, we do sales differently. We believe in positioning over pressure, where the right people lean in without the need for pushy tactics. And that's the heart of the reverse glass selling framework, a kingdom-driven approach built on trust, service, and true connection. When you lead with value, sales can become effortless. And when you sell more, you can give more. So today we've got something special for you. We have a special guest who is a conceptualist and a wellness expert who has spent over 4 decades shaping wellness and hospitality experiences for global brands such as Disney and Hilton. He's passionate about connecting ideas, people, and creating authentic wellness experiences that can transform lives. So please welcome Just Sturgis. Welcome, Just. How you doing, brother?
Great, man. Love the intro, by the way. Love seeing all those people I know too. Becky, Eddie, a lot of folks.
Yeah. Blast from the past. Awesome. So welcome to Sales Ninja Show, and we're going to jump right in because there's so many things that I want to ask you in this limited time that we have. So you have been a conceptualist and a wellness expert. Some people don't even know what that means. What does it all mean?
I don't know what it means either. It's a little trick for you. It's about, I guess what I would distill it down to is it's capturing or creating or identifying micro moments, right? Those are the pieces that we notice that sometimes we don't even know we notice. And there's I had a mentor who talked about if everything's special, nothing's special, right? If everything's $1 million wall or a $1 million car, then they're all the same. But when you layer in little micro moments, little special pieces, that starts to create the story. So that's the framework, or that's what builds on the framework of the story. And that's what I do.
Okay, amazing. That was very clear. And I when I think about sales, because it's a sales show podcast, when you have the same thing or everyone, for example, Costco, here's a great example. People are wearing the same socks, people getting the same shoes, people getting the same shirts. Even though they're nicer and higher quality now, it doesn't feel as special because they all bought it at the Costco special for that season. And all the guys, at the baseball game, or like if you're, driving your kids to soccer, they're wearing the same stuff because they got it on special. But It's not special. So,
but it doesn't have to be, right?
Okay, there you go.
That's your foundation.
Expand on that.
So if we all have the same shirt, we may not wear it all with the same shorts, or we may not all wear it the same way, or carry it the same way. Our bodies are different, right? So it's about identifying what could be layered, or what about that item is already unique or special, and there's always something that you can do to make something that's ordinary or typical or standard and accentuate that. And the reality is the special item can't stand on its own either. It needs the base. So that common shirt that everybody's wearing serves a purpose, and now you build off of that. And the people that have imagination do that, the people that don't. And that's where you kind of get the separation of the sea of likeness and the differentiation.
Interesting. So you're taking the ordinary and making it extraordinary by layering or putting different combinations, which is neat because, you know, when I think back in the day of like, you know, Steve Jobs or Fred Flintstone or, you know, people who wear the same clothes, they have different sets of them, right? Because they don't want to make more decisions, but layering them in a different way that you have a select number and you can combine them to make, you know, a bunch of permutations.
Well, and with Steve Jobs, by wearing the same outfit every time, nobody's guessing what he's going to wear and nobody cares. And there's zero focus on what he's wearing and all the focus is on what he's saying, right? So you remove the distraction. I do that a lot with my storytelling, with the branding that I'm building. I do a lot of design work, physical design, like architecture, right? So it's about looking at how can you make something so ordinary, so typical that it just fades into the background and it provides that solid base so that the eye or the intention or the emotion is drawn to what is the unique item that you placed there, right? Because again, that may not be real obvious. It may be something subtle, but you want people to notice it, but you don't want them to notice it in a way that it's cheesy or that type of thing. So it's a lot of subliminal stuff without not in a negative way, in a positive way.
That's fascinating. So maybe we can go dig deeper into the architectural design. What either project or things that have you created, whether it was in a hotel or in a building that was subtle, but it was like a symbol or something of significance that would, you know, people would catch on to maybe?
Well, I'll give you one that's one of my favorite examples because it actually was never built, but I'm going to tell you what I had in mind and then what they did, and you'll see how I talk about translating these things. So I worked for a company called Jumeirah as a consultant, and I was designing their spa brand to lease. I created that spa brand with my team. And one of the ideas I had was in the relaxation room. For people that don't know spa, before or after you get a massage, there's a space you go to either to wait or to retreat afterward and decompress, right? So we have this relaxation room, and I wanted the entire room to rotate. You know the rotating restaurants you have, right?
Yeah.
The reason was I wanted some slight windows, some narrow windows to be cut out along the top, like a clear story, not all the way around, but just certain points, right? And so what would happen, this ties back to the DNA of the brand I was creating, was about mindset and intention. So when you came into that space, let's say at 3 p.m., right, to wait for your massage, and then you go and you get your massage and your facial and your body treatment, in 3.5 hours you come back, the room is rotated. You don't know because it looks exactly the same, but all the light has changed, the natural light, right? Because the sun is coming in through windows at different points now. And so it was this idea of it feels it's the same space, but it feels 100% completely different, as should you after just doing 3.5 hours of spa treatments, right? So this brand at the time was Stay Different, and they were spending billions on all kinds of stuff, but that engineering feat was a little too much. So the way that you then take that big idea and translate it down is I said, okay, then let's use projectors. But I don't just want lighting. I want something to mimic the original idea. And they did. They built that same concept, but with projectors. So they would change the lighting. So now the shadow on that chair is at a different place. Again, they're subtle, right? Nobody's going to come in and say that shadow's at a different place, but the feel, everything now internally they've changed and the atmosphere has changed. And so it just sort of all combines to make this sort of real shift in the way you feel. Now, all of a sudden that 10 grand that you spent on your room at that hotel and the 1,200 you spent on treatments, you don't even think about it, right? They didn't. I would. That's still a lot of money to me, but those folks would not even think about it. It's just a total transformation.
So I want to understand the buyer psychology. So, okay, we're talking numbers that are pretty astronomical here because you talked about the Jumeirah spa brand, and I think I heard you say they're spending a lot of money. Did you say millions?
They were.
Billions?
This was in 2005 and 6, 7. So, the coffers were open. They were making a ton of money on oil. The world was great. And then 2008 hit. So now it's not quite like that. But at that time, that was the golden age, honestly, of spa, building 40, 50,000 square foot facilities.
Wow. That's massive.
Yeah, it is. We don't do that today. It's not sustainable today, but it was.
Okay, gotcha. So let's shift from Disney and Hilton. You work with these top tier brands. What pivotal experience shaped your understanding of authentic wellness and how it fits into business and branding?
Great question. Well, let's take the authentic piece first. So I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I worked at a day spa there that's pretty famous. It's kind of a resort spa now. It's called 10,000 Waves. It's sort of a Japanese onsen concept in the southwestern U.S. desert. So it's already unique. But one of the things that shaped me there, my mentor is the owner of that spa, Duke Klauk. And what was interesting, to be 15 years old, and that's when I started doing this in 1987 and just kind of worked through, but to be that young and to be in an environment like that where I'll just be direct because this is how I am, right? So everybody's running around naked, right? You're a 15-year-old boy walking around with a bunch of naked people is already just, it's kind of different, right? Especially in a Latin culture too. So kind of conservative Catholic area, but it started to shape how I saw things. And then what took that to the next level that I've never forgotten, that has shaped the rest of my career, is that his philosophy was very Japanese in that bathing is for everybody. There is no social status in that. And so literally at that spa, we had what was called the public tub, where you could get a membership, a monthly membership, right? This is no exaggeration. There's two guys that always stood out to me. One guy was a billionaire. I won't give his name, but he had made a bunch of money in telecom and stuff. He lived outside of Santa Fe, literally a billionaire. He would go and he had a membership. This is like I don't know, $30 a month membership or $20. It was cheap, right? But he's sitting in this hot tub. And next to him is a guy that I will give his name because you'll never find him, but his name's Red Ted. He was a homeless guy who lived in a camp about 3 miles up from the 10,000 Waves. Those guys sat every day in the tub together and had meaningful conversations. And it was symbiotic, but it wasn't abusive. Like Red Ted never expected anything from T, the millionaire, and the millionaire never expected anything from Red or expected to give him anything. They just were being together and having conversation and coexisting. And that was what that communal tub was about. And Duke was like that. You know, we had one night where the rep for David Bowie called up and wanted us to stay open a couple extra hours and open a tub for him. Every spa I've ever worked with or for since would absolutely do that. Duke said no. It's like, I don't care who you are. Everybody's the same. It's the same price. I don't upcharge you for being a celebrity. I'm not giving you extra time for being a celebrity, right? We closed. Sorry. It blew my mind, but that set the tone for me about how you could operate. That's authentic to me, right?
Holy smoke.
He's being authentic to what his mission was in that spa. It's a very, and look at it now, it's insanely popular and successful. So that didn't hurt, the fact that he would turn celebrities away. The fact that Julia Roberts used to have, sorry, I'm name dropping now, but she had to wait in line with everybody else to check out, right? Those kind of moments, you know, people go there for that. So it's about finding your identity. Not everybody could get away with that, but you could get away with it in that town, in that place.
That's incredible. Like, I mean, your mentor, Duke, I mean, to be able to have the identity and the confidence and the humility and the character to be able to not be, you know, impressed or influenced or wooed by people of influence, that's not normal.
No, or on the other side, to keep the homeless guy out. You know what I mean? Who's letting that happen too? So it was incredibly mind-opening.
Now, you don't have to go, we don't have to delve too much into this, but how does someone become like that identity of your mentor, Duke, to be able to get to that place where he can basically get them in a wait line to check out from a celebrity and have a homeless and a billionaire in the same tub without upcharging or giving favoritism or bias?
I honestly have no idea. I mean, he grew up privileged. I don't think he had a great relationship with his parents. I don't want to say that too much on camera here because I'm projecting, but
sure.
And he's still around. He's still alive. He's still out there doing stuff. But yeah, I don't know where he exactly got that from. But I can tell you that as the top goes, so does the rest, right? And he was always that way. And he was never even concerned about his own appearance. He'd sometimes come in wrinkled shirts and whatnot, and he was already quite well off at that point, successful with this brand in this place. So I don't know. Some people are just born with that innate. I don't even know if it's confidence, right? It's just it's truth. They have a truth, and there's no reason to vary from that for other people, right? So I think we all struggle. I know I struggle with that. I want to be more like him. I want to be able to have that truth and never worry about what else anybody else is thinking. And I think my most successful moments are when I do that. When I say rotate this relaxation room and the architects look at me like we're going to hang you up outside after this meeting, I stuck with it, right? Because that was, for me, it felt like really honest. So
amazing. So let's talk about startup challenges and scaling strategies. As wellness becomes a larger focus for companies globally, how do you scale wellness strategies without compromising the brand's core identity?
Super tough. I mean, first of all, the elephant in the room is that wellness is too big a word anyway. I mean, you can stamp wellness on anything: butter, cars, candles, right? And everybody is. And so when somebody says, I hesitate even anymore to say I'm a wellness expert or consultant or anything, because what does that mean? Do I teach yoga? Do I tell people how to eat? Am I into fitness? What does that mean? So I think for the first shift is that people started to understand that the word got too big. It's lost all its meaning. It is now what we talked about earlier. It's the white wall in the background. It means nothing. So now what do you have to do to make it mean something is to figure out what your niche or your piece of that is, and then pop that onto that wall so that people know wellness as what? As a nutritionist, as a yoga instructor, as a biochemist, what is it? Are you a doctor? So the first part is wellness is sort of that foundation. It's that canvas so that you can say, well, I'm not in the automotive industry, I'm not in restaurants, but wellness is what I focus on, and here's my piece of it. Then on top of that, what's happened is I think AI has dramatically shifted things already, and it'll do more and more. And my industry is one that will be slow to adopt because, well, not everybody, but the kind of foundational wellness, the people that are really into the healing part of it and stuff, they're going to be slow to adopt because I think a lot of them don't understand that it's not replacing the humanity, right? And that's the first thought. Are we replacing that human touch, which is so integral to what we do? So when they figure that out, they'll adopt. But in the meantime, it's just allowed people to really kind of start to carve their initials into the wall, kind of put their mark on things faster than they used to. And even if they're all the same, I mean, how many influencers are there out there selling God knows what, juicers and all kinds of stuff right on TikTok? So, and they're all doing, I think most of them are doing fairly well. But it is just a sea of noise. And so how do you start to differentiate that? That's when I would go back to niche, micro moments, carving little spaces, not being greedy. If you can not be greedy, there's plenty. We're one of the biggest industries in the world now. So if you're not greedy and you just go after the pieces that authentically match with you, I don't need all the stuff that everybody else is going after, right? Go after the piece that you have. I promise you, it's a big enough slice. You don't need all of it. You get plenty, and you can always expand. You can always change. And honestly, if you're good at what you do and you present the right message and you align with people, they'll come to you, and then you get a bigger piece. But I feel like some of what happens now is people are too generic. Amazing. Well said. The whole idea of like, getting that share of the pie, but not being too greedy. That's a hard one. When people achieve success, or when they have like the opportunity, just like Duke, to upsell a celebrity to make a $20,000 a night for like an easy extra hours, or whatever he could charge. He could have charged whatever he wanted to. They probably would have gotten it. How do you stay in your lane, and you said people come to you, that law of attraction, while not staying greedy? What's your antidote? What's your personal prescription for not staying
not getting greedy, not being greedy, and also being able to attract people to you?
I think it's innate for me. It's just the way I've been raised. It's my nature. And let me preface this by saying anything I say today is not a prescription. I'm not telling anybody to do what I do because I'm fairly unconventional, and honestly, it works for me. It may not work for you. So I'm only sharing how I've done things, what I've experienced, and you can pull nuggets from that as you like. But I wouldn't give my journey as a roadmap because it's been odd. But like at the beginning of this, before we joined everybody here, you were almost a little confused by my brand. That's because I don't trade on my brand. I don't think anybody even knows my brand. My company is Simple Lotus. Okay, that's the name of my company. I've done hundreds of spas as Simple Lotus, but I'm almost always as a subcontract or some layer to an architect or a designer or a hotel owner or something. So I'm not one of those people who puts my brand out there. I'm not Sales Ninja. I'm not Gary V, right? So people don't know me. They know my work. I'm okay with that. Most people are not. Most people want to be known or known for their work or known with their work. I'm perfectly okay that people go to my resorts all over the world, love them, and have no idea that I did it. I'm actually okay with that. So I don't know that. That's why I say it's a little it's innate. I'm not shy. I'm okay. I am somewhat extroverted, but I don't need the limelight. In fact, I don't like it. So for me, it's about at the end of the night, can I go to bed thinking I did exactly what I wanted to do? Did I pitch my case? Self-satisfaction. And subsequently, I don't make nearly as much as my contemporaries. I probably make a third of what the people that I know are doing the same thing I'm doing. And if I ever was feeling bad about that, that's on me, right? I could easily trade on the work I've done and make way, way more. It's just for whatever reason not in me. I want to lay at the beach and do nothing as soon as possible. I'm not a driven guy. I want to do the work I want.
So let's talk about leadership and team building, because in sales, things, everything rises and falls on leadership. So you've helped lead teams to develop brand strategies for global wellness and hospitality giants like Disney and Hilton. What kind of leadership strategies did you employ to inspire creativity and innovation with teams like Disney, teams like Hilton? Give us some stories of how you help them.
Well, that's interesting. So I'm not a natural leader. Well, let me say that. I lead people who want to be led. I'm really bad at managing people. So if everybody's ready to go in the direction and they all have their own tool sets and their skills and stuff, I'm really good with teams like that. I'm really bad at nurturing or building up or that. And so when I've been in that position, like when I've actually operated spas or other businesses, I've been in a lot of different industries. I always need a strong number 2 or number 2 and 3 or number 2 through 10. I need people who enjoy teaching and nurturing and watching people succeed and all those things. For whatever reason, again, in my nature, I'll look back in a shark-infested water and I may be leagues out to sea already and everybody's getting eaten and I'm like, oops, I guess they didn't know about the sharks, and I keep going, right? So my empathy is great in some ways, but with teams it's not. So when you ask that question, I have a little guilt in that I'm not a great team leader, but I do think I can lead a team of peers well. And so Disney's a great example. I was working with some of the premier Imagineers on the Disney project in Hawaii, and it becomes very collaborative, and I'm not shy about sharing or pushing my agenda, no matter how high they are, what level they are, when it's tiers. When it's people that are going to be relying upon me, it's tougher for me. So I am a little bit of a lone wolf in that way, but that was a good one because I'm pushing a lot of ideas on people who have done amazing things, much bigger work than I have, designing the what was not the Himalayas, it was the next one that they did. I can't remember which,
Like
it was the Himalayas, not the Matterhorn. But at Disneyland, Disney World, they had the Matterhorn, and then they came out with the other one that was the Himalayas. That's what this guy designed, and he'd spent months in Tibet and stuff, studying the culture. So he was doing what I was doing with a huge budget, but I wasn't intimidated by that. That's when leading a team of people that are amazing, I can do that. That's why I like AI, because I can create my team in my own image and lead them. But I don't know if that answered your question. Or
yeah, it does. So I'm gonna ask you about AI in just a second, but so you're working with like some of the top positions, highest positions of people who have created amazing things like the Himalayas at Disney, Hawaii, for example. What I think a lot of people don't understand, and a question that I'll even ask myself as a leader, is how are you not intimidated by people who have achieved greatness? And many of these people may have a chip on the shoulder or a sense of entitlement, or like, I've been there, you haven't done this, how can you say that to me? What gives you the right? How do you deal with those situations?
Yeah, it's twofold. When I have a seat at the table, I don't see any limits ever. There's no limits for me if I got a seat at the table. Before I get the seat at the table, I put all sorts of artificial limits on front of myself. I have major imposter syndrome. I've got mindset issues up the yin yang and getting there, right? So I don't pitch myself. I don't market myself. I always feel like I'm going to be the last choice, right? I'm the kid on the kickball field that gets picked last. And so I have major kind of issues with that. But once I'm picked, if I got a seat at the table, I don't care if it's Michael Jordan on the other side. I feel like I'm going to be competitive here. So it's a weird mindset shift that I have. And so when I'm at the table, I don't see any limitations. I have nothing to lose, I guess, because I didn't think I was getting invited to begin with. So now I have nothing to lose. I can say what I want. I can do what I want. I can pitch what I want. And it's very freeing. And it also, that's when people start to think of you as creative or visionary, or all these words they start to throw around. It's because you've taken the limits off. And some people can do that way before, which I envy them. But for me, that's when it happens.
And the interesting thing is, the dark side of it is that I think there are people who can behave or act in the way that you do with this incredible confidence, nothing to lose. But then they may have that chip on the shoulder that says, I'm the underdog, so let me prove to them I can, deserve the seat at the table by showing them and pretending that I don't care, but I really care, and trying to prove them either wrong, or that I'm right, or that I have value and I have, I deserve this seat. There's those kinds of people too, right? And you're not that. Which is,
I'm not. I internalize. Like, am I doing what I think is the right thing?
Okay, so let's talk about the future. Let's talk about AI, because you said you use AI. How do you use AI to do what you're doing? Because like, whether it's a software stack or whether it's some prompting, what do you do? How do you use it?
I'm really just starting to integrate it into what I have been doing, because I've been using AI for a long time, a few years, but it's I still don't feel confident in it for some of the things I do. Like, for example, when I get off this call, I have to do this kind of what you guys would call a pitch deck. It's kind of a mood board showing some different equipment and things that could go into this particular space. I try to use AI. I probably used 15 different tools to try and do it using AI to see what would happen, and they all failed. It just it doesn't always work. There's context and things, and maybe I'm just not good enough as a prompter. I don't know. But that aside, in January, I started another company called Wellbots, and it's AI chatbots only for my industry. Again, I'm going back to what I said earlier. I eat my own dog food. I'm niche, right? I tell these people, my clients, I say, you can find 100 people in an hour better than me at AI. I promise you can do that. And they're all going to be sending you emails anyway saying, hey, we can do this and that for you. I said, but you're not going to find a single one anywhere in the world. I promise this too. And nowhere in the world are you going to find a guy that knows AI and has 38 years of experience in spa and wellness. And I said, at that point, you choose your expertise. Do you want the spa and wellness expertise, with a pretty good understanding of AI, or do you want the AI expertise with no understanding or limited understanding of our industry? They both could work, but they're going to work differently. And the difference is if I'm building your chatbot, I know what to ask without learning it. I don't have to ask AI what to ask, and I don't have to get somebody to teach me what to ask. So all I need to do now is spend time refining how I ask the AI. I don't have to learn my industry and that, right? And so that's the benefit that I'm giving to my industry, is that I'm taking my understanding and my pretty decent understanding of AI, and I'm blending the two. And I think as I've started to do that, those are all front end chatbots. But as I've started to do that, I've started to realize, okay, there's a ton of internal operating system opportunities in my industry that people don't understand, right? It's not the same as running a restaurant or a hotel or anything else. So I know the questions to anticipate. So now I'm starting to use AI to build internal operating systems. So I don't know that I'll ever get it to a point where I can use it. I know some interior designers and architects that are using it. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point for me, but for this other business, for Wellbots, I'm quite comfortable doing it. And I think they'll bleed over. And then beyond that, the implications of AI for health and wellness are, there isn't any, in my opinion, there is no other application as amazing as that. When you can model out, you can model out when somebody's going to have a heart attack and they don't even know that they're susceptible. They might be super fit, but the AI will identify cues and markers using DNA and things, and it can tell you at 45 you're going to have a heart attack if you don't do this or that. It's amazing. We're in a renaissance period.
It is. Someone in my church, he was a retired science teacher. He had an Apple Watch that was gifted to him, and the Apple Watch was telling him that he was having a heart attack on the ECG monitor or whatever that thing is. And he's like, oh, that's interesting, because he's like, look at it, like, what is this?
I don't feel anything.
Yeah. And then his wife took him to the hospital, and he was having a heart attack. So it saved his life. So interesting how technology, and in the health and wellness space, the technology is changing the future of what we may not see in the present, and can help literally save lives. Now you're selling SaaS, which is the chatbots that can lead to consultation. Tell us one tip or strategy that can help you land more deals, because this is a Sales Ninja Show podcast, so it wouldn't be a sales podcast without telling us, how are you landing these contracts, these big companies, these big logos?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a sales podcast without asking the worst salesman on earth his strategy, right? So
that's okay.
Again, I'm trading off of my niche and my expertise. I don't. If somebody put me in a room and said my only hope of saving my life was creating a Facebook ad, I guess I'm done on this earth, because I don't even know how to do that, right? So I am a terrible marketer, traditional channels. But in terms of my network, again, I literally created that business on a Tuesday for a show that was starting on a Sunday. And I came up with the logo. I bought the domain name. I don't even have an EIN number on that yet. And I stopped by on the way into town at a t-shirt print shop to print a t-shirt and a hoodie that I could wear at the trade show.
That's so cool.
I went to Staples in the morning and got some janky ass cards that pardon the language.
That's okay.
And so I created this business overnight, really at the prompting of my wife, saying, if you're going to this show and you've got this new business, why don't you promote it? Well, I don't have anything to promote. That's why. But I just ramshackled it together. And then when I get a seat at the table, right? There's themes in my life, you can notice, but I get a seat at the table. I'm in this convention with 2,800 peers. And I just did the spiel that I did for you a minute ago. Look, you may not like AI. You may not think about AI. You may not think you're going to have AI, but your email is going to be filled with people selling you AI in the next few months. They're going to be from all over the place. They're also going to make AI for pizza joints and car dealerships and whatever, right? I only do our industry. I only do for our industry. I'm from my industry. I'm 38 years in the industry. 90% of the people in this room know me. My testimonials are walking around, right? Even though it's not for this, it's for the industry. So for me, that was the tactic. I don't know that everybody can do that, right? Some people are just starting out, but you could probably trade off of things. So if maybe you're in my industry, but you only have 2 years experience, but you can start to capture what you've learned, and you can maybe trade off of other people. But yeah, that's how I did it. Is so far, and I'm not out here driving a Lambo or something. So it's not like I'm cleaning up, but I think that I'm just hitting that momentum stage, because right now is when really all this is happening. I said it several months ago, even years ago, but it's really just right now that people are starting to get all kinds of emails saying you need a chat widget, or you need a, let me build you some custom GPTs or whatever. So I've got just a little head start, but what I do have again is the credibility. So even if these guys can go faster than me, they can't go deeper than me.
They can go faster, but not deeper.
Yeah. And I wish people would I hope that the younger generation, like my daughters, I hope that they understand the value of true experience, because going back to my earlier comment about, somebody who knows AI versus somebody who knows the industry, whatever industry that is, right? You could give a master craftsman a hammer and a mediocre craftsman a full toolkit. And anybody who thinks that master craftsman is going to make something amazing with just a hammer is crazy, right? So it starts to equalize. So these people that are really good at AI and really good at tech, they are going to carve out a piece, but you're always safe if you have some of that and a whole bunch of real world knowledge. If you've actually been somewhere, if you've actually done something, if you're a dishwasher in a restaurant and this other guy's only AI for their whole career, and you learn a little bit about AI, in my opinion, you have a little edge up because you speak the lingo, you know what's happening. So I think people need to make sure they have some type of skill that's beyond all this.
Amazing. So I think at the end of all of this, your network, your skill that you've, accumulated over almost 40 years has allowed you to go deeper, not necessarily faster, but you're learning also with AI how to be more effective, efficient, and bring people up to speed with people who are using traditional marketing and who may not have brand awareness, or the global brands who are still kind of using old methods that no longer work.
And it's just a tool, right? Like,
yeah,
I came from BlackBerry to this. That was a major shift, right? I was PDA before that. So people they build up AI like it's something incredibly new, but we went from ice caves to ice boxes, right? To refrigerators. This always happens. Pick your lane.
Pick well said.
Piece of it you want.
So we are at the end of our time because we've gone over, and I want to do a lightning round, and this is called Getting to Know Just. So I'm going to ask you a speed round of questions, and then we're going to close up here. So morning rituals, tea or coffee?
Water.
Okay, there you go. Someone different, always being unique. What's your morning routine like? Because you're specializing in emphasizing wellness and authenticity. So this is authenticity. So this is a great opportunity.
Definitely do a ton of water first thing. And then we do a walk, usually 2-mile walk almost every single morning about 5:30.
Wow.
I do meditation, and then I don't have it handy, but I have a vagus nerve stimulator I use every morning. Kind of goes around my neck, stimulates the vagus nerve. I try to do meditation every morning for 20 minutes. That's it.
Okay, awesome. Now, what sparks your creative inspiration when developing brand strategies or new wellness concepts?
I don't know if I'm answering this correctly, but walking around.
Okay.
Being somewhere, anywhere that's new, different, airport, beach, it doesn't matter, because that's where I see all those micro moments I talk about.
So you see and experience something, right?
Yeah. So a manhole cover is insanely. I joined a Facebook group for manhole covers because they fascinate me.
A manhole cover, like the sewer, like the circular. What?
Go on Facebook, look it up, look in there, and you'll see these are art forms all over the world. It's amazing.
Oh, I thought you meant just the covers, but they're actually putting artwork on them.
Yeah, they all have different things on them.
Okay, there you go. Favorite wellness trend. What wellness trend do you believe is here to stay, and why?
Well, here to stay is all the tried and true ones: bodywork, massage, things like that. But I'm enthusiastic about the authenticity of a lot of new, like not new, but new to people. So the light therapies, red light therapy, green light therapy, blue light therapy, I think we'll see a lot more of that. And I also like that the the world, really, most of the US, but the world is following suit. We're opening our minds to all of the botanicals that will replace the pharmaceuticals. So whether that's the CBD or whatever, but all of that.
Are you a reverse osmosis guy, water guy?
Yeah, but I think there's, I'm also hydrogen, oxygen guy. There's a lot of different water infusion and water changing molecular type doodads out there that I'm pretty high on, pretty keen on.
Okay. What is a different profession or hobby that you would like to do that is nothing compared to what you're doing now?
Well, I'm too old now, I think, but I always wanted to be a professional baseball player since I was a little tiny kid. I just wasn't quite at that level, but that's what I would be doing. And otherwise, I think photography will be my next thing when I retire. Nice.
Okay, last question is a personal mantra. Do you have a personal mantra or a quote that guides you in your work and your life?
I have a lot of them, but the one that comes to mind most often, and especially this week, is Il Dulce Far Niente, the sweet art of idleness. I will tell you that of all the people I've met throughout my lifetime, I find very few people who truly could live that. Most people get bored or fidgety. I am not one of those. If I am unique in anything, I have zero problem doing absolutely nothing, and my wife can attest to that.
And that concludes, because there's a book called Men Are Like Waffles and Women Are Like Spaghetti. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Where everything is entangled for a woman, and you could be talking about your phone, which leads to your kids getting good grades at school. Like my mom had this amazing spaghetti way of taking every single conversation to becoming dentist, doctor, or lawyer, right, and studying hard. So we could talk about I don't know, eating peanuts, and she goes, well, if you become a doctor, you can afford peanuts, right? Or I'm like, what? So, and then the waffle is like everyone's kind of like in this
right.
box, right? And we're in the TV box. We're watching TV right now. We're on the podcast box. We're in the nothing box, where you're watching a rom-com with your wife, and she's like, "Honey, this is the best part. What do you think? What do you think?" And you're just like in a zone of like blank, right?
Yep.
And you're like nothing, and she's like, "How could you be so insensitive? This is like," so yeah, I love that. Yeah, sweet art of idleness, and like you said, most people get bored or fidgety, but you have zero problems. Being bored. So that's wonderful. And I think, even we do another podcast on this, but like children, especially with the next generation, they have so much distraction and they don't like being bored, and they're super fidgety. They have the fidget spinners for those things, right? And, when we take all things away, devices, iPads, and we're just like unplugged, no electricity, we're on a beach, we have no they have to get creative. They like to start playing. And that's the whole idea of that creativity that you talked about today. And I think we need to be more bored and more idle so we can become more creative, how God created us.
Yeah. Provide space.
Provide space. So well said. Everyone check out thesimplelotus.com. And you can also check Justin on Facebook here at facebook.com, just_Justice Sturgis. There's a bunch of things here from LinkedIn, from X. And you can also go to his website, juststurgis.com, and then simplelotus.com if you want to learn more. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Sales Ninja Show. Thank you, Just, for the amazing conversation that we had talking about wellness and brand strategies that have helped the likes of Disney and Hilton. And here, if you are a 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur and you want to be on the next podcast, just comment podcast if you want to be on the Sales Ninja Show podcast. So for now, I want to say thanks again, Just, for your time, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you.
Massive.